Hey folks, welcome into Pro Football Ireland. As we get set for week 16 of the NFL season, Christmas week, some great games coming up. Nollaig Weave to everyone listening, but a big Nollaig Weave to Mark and Jason and the whole Pro Football Ireland team and everyone that's helped us out, not just this season, but over the last year and a bit. Michael McQuaid, Mark Hogan, Jason Hayes, Mark Kajay, Cart Galore.
I did all right until I hope I'm not ruining something now, but if you play that Christmas jingle that you kept on playing while we started this thing off, that's blasting through my ears. They're still ringing.
I can't play it because the audio enhancer will mess up, so I can't do it, but I really want to do it right now. It's such a good beat. I actually might do it to intro this podcast. It's so good. Obviously, Mark, you were off last week. You got engaged. Congratulations. There are rumours afoot of when and where this nuptial might take place. I want to just go out now and say I think you should have it in Corrick House in Clogher in Tyrone. It's 25 minutes from my house, and it means I can walk back.
Yeah, no, thanks a million. It's been a whirlwind. I obviously knew for a while that I was doing it, but it's funny now, a couple of weeks later, still hearing about it. We were able to go over to Colorado. So she's from Colorado, Linnea. I know you guys have met her. And from a ski town called Winter Park. So we're up skiing on the mountain, right? And who's there? Shoulder Sanders. Is that his name? Deion Sanders, quarterback son? Honest to God.
Why have you not told me this?
Because if I told you,
football podcast.
I know. If I had told you, I was like, I'm gonna spend the day now looking for this guy. I'm barely able to stay on the skis as is, let alone if I have to bomb it around. So he put up, the post the next day, say that he was there, and I don't follow him now on Instagram, but my fiance's sister does, and she showed me the story. So we're looking out for him all day, but we weren't able to. Like, it's a ski slope; it's impossible to find someone. He had a helmet on.
Oh, you didn't meet him? You just saw an Instagram story that you were the same place.
No, who knows if we actually saw him or not, because he's wearing all black. Yeah. He's wearing all black and a helmet. It's like, who am I to say if that was him or not? But he did post about it, and it was from the same resort that we were at.
It's the ideal hobby for a famous person, really, isn't it?
Except for when you do your ACL and they put it into the contract that you're not supposed to be going out in the slopes. Because I was thinking the exact same thing.
Jason or Shatter Sanders.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? I might have ended up almost on a no-fly list because I did have a bad fall. My leg is killing me. And I thought of you straight away, Jason. It's like, I better take it easy now or I won't be able to get on the plane to Vegas. So, yeah, I feel your pain somewhat. I hope the ACL wasn't as bad as I'm feeling right now.
Hold on. Right. First off, I hand to God for people in the By the way, for people in the podcast, we're two different segments. One on Thursday, one on Friday. So hope you enjoy it, folks. For people in the video, we're in our Christmas gear. We're not presented by Guinness,
or the Arizona Cardinals, or the Snow Me the Way.
Snow Me the Way to Amarillo. I had no idea about that Sanders story, and as somebody that sat and really loved doing the college podcast with Dara Connell and the team. By the way, live episode coming night one of the draft from Belfast in person, live. More on that very soon. I'm actually not happy, but I have to say,
I had to save the content, Michael. It killed me at the time not to tell you, but I had to save the content.
I told Mark and Jason off camera before we started this. I was in Swords during the week, and I haven't texted this man. I seen Dean Rock, and it was like, well, Dean Rock's a massive NFL fan, but I missed the opportunity there also. So he might not be Shatter Sanders, but he's won at least 9 All-Irelands. As much as it kills me to say, he's a lovely guy. Even better looking a real person, Dino. So there you go. Jason, have you met anybody famous this week in Cork?
I know. I just trying to think. No, I don't have any cool stories like that. Same old stuff down here for me. But sure, that's okay, because when you're in Cork, things are always good. So,
we're actually Tom at Cork. We're about just over a month away from Jeff coming to Cork. It is sold out. We're going to do a little Christmas giveaway potentially this week to give away 2 tickets for it. And then there's somebody else really cool coming to Cork. If you're from Cork, DM us on Twitter or X, and we'll tell you who it is. We're not going to tell anybody yet. But excited to see Jason. Excited to see Mark at some point over this tour. Maybe he'll have Coach Prime there as well going by this. But we'll see. How are we all feeling ahead of week 16? Because it's one thing, Mark. It's been a couple of weeks because I said it to Michaela and Connor on Monday Morning Football because Michaela was in the States It was me and Connor. There was 1 week we didn't do it, and then we suddenly came all back together, Mark, and we were saying like, this is it. We're here. We sit for months and we talk around the season and we talk around storylines that we expect to see, but suddenly we now are in week 16. And frankly, if you take Christmas time and you take your family time together, we're technically already in week 17. It's scary biscuits. And also we're taking week 17 off, apparently. Is this true?
Yeah, well, that looks like it because we'd have to record on Christmas Day or thereabouts. So we might have a break next week, but it is because that means when we touch on the teams again, a lot will have changed. But it's been the best season, I think, since I started following the NFL back in 2011 that I followed, because everything has happened. There is no standout team. Like, it's the 49ers now, but there was the Eagles 5 weeks ago. The Chiefs has never got going. The Bengals have come and gone and come and gone. The Browns have had this like crazy year. So it's like, I've just thoroughly enjoyed it. And maybe it's because as an Arizona Cardinals fan, I was able to sit back and take it all in. Jason, you're probably the same. And it's like, for individual teams, if you're a fan of anyone in the AFC and you saw your quarterback go down, it doesn't feel like it's your team. You kind of want to be firing on all cylinders, but it's set up so well for fans all year, like, that it's going to be the shame if it ends. Maybe it is that the NFL is resetting again and it's not all going to be about high-powered offense that is just lives with one or two teams in particular. It's been so even and it's been so interesting to cover because it's not that we're ignoring everyone outside of the Chiefs. That's what I'm going to miss when the regular season, because so many teams deserve to get there. I don't know, well, we mentioned the Denver Broncos later on. They're a team that were awful. And like the Green Bay Packers, stormed back in and we thought they were going to make the playoffs. And now they're dropping off again, even though they're only one game back from a 4-way tie for the last 2 spots in the AFC. It's been so entertaining this year that, that's why I don't want the regular season to end, because, teams are going to start falling quick now.
Jason, I'm ready for the postseason. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so open in terms of who's actually going to make it at this point. So that's back to what Mark said. I think the middle class of the NFL has never been so big in that there's very few high quality teams that you think, are shoo-ins for the playoffs. On the other side, there's very few teams that are you wouldn't give any chance of winning week in, week out, and that's why we're seeing so much upsets every week. I think I'm proud of us. I'm proud of the 4 of us with our predictions week in, week out, because I think our record isn't too bad considering how difficult this season has been to predict every week. Any team can beat any team. It's been chaotic. I will say I don't think it's a case of a lot of quality football being played. I think it's teams have been very up and down all year, and if anything, the quality might have dropped slightly. You see a guy like Tom Brady ranting about this every week now, it seems. But we are going through a bit of a passing of the guard this year. We don't have Brady, don't have Breeze. Aaron Rodgers is out this year, of course, to be back next year. But a lot of the franchise names and biggest names in the league aren't here anymore. And we're seeing some of these newer teams now coming through and just not proving as dominant year in, year out, which makes for entertaining viewing in the regular season. So I've absolutely enjoyed it because, it's not like there's a strong favourite in games every week. It really is tough to predict. Upsets are happening. Big teams are going through down spells like the Eagles right now. You thought they were nothing getting in their way, but now suddenly they're slipping quite quickly. So it's just the chaos of the regular season has been fun, but I completely agree. Can't wait for the postseason as well, because that's just unrivaled in terms of excitement.
I'm already dreading seeing Scott Hansen say goodbye for another year, because I feel like we haven't seen him. Mark has been away that much in a good way. We're 6 weeks out from Pro Football Ireland in Vegas. More to come on that very soon. 2 teams that could be in Vegas are the Niners, are the Ravens in the Super Bowl, and we'll talk about that later on down the stretch. But there's a really, really interesting game, Mark, on Christmas Eve. Now, do feel free to incorporate this chat and this personal stuff, because there is a great podcast coming out with Scal this weekend where he talks around. He's going to his in-laws' house for Christmas. I don't think they've got Sky. They have no Wi-Fi. He's panicking. I don't think he's going to get to see any games. So he's definitely taking the week off next week. But Dolphins playing the Cowboys, two teams that are 10-4. But the reality is, Mark, they're one game out from the highest record in both conferences, and the Dolphins are going to finish the season against the 10-4 Cowboys, the 11-3 Ravens, and the 8-6 Bills. For anyone that watches Hard Knocks in season, there is a sensational lecture from Mike McDaniel. I think it was after was it Titans game. I may have that wrong, and just talking about how it's not just on the players, but it's on him, and a lot of what he's been doing and what he's been doing is wrong. And I feel that he's really, really building up that relationship with his players, and you can see that not only in the play against the Jets last week, Mark, but more so in the manner in which they speak. For the Cowboys, I don't really get into the hype train of, saying look, I'm not too concerned after last week. I think the Bills had a storm of a performance, but we've seen time and time again this season, albeit against maybe lower opposition, that the Cowboys are very, very, very good. Dak Prescott could, in my opinion, still be an MVP candidate regardless last week. The whole mantra of Mark Hogan is hated by the majority of the Miami Dolphins fans because they're 0-3 against teams that have currently winning records. There's so many different things into this, but we're looking at a situation this weekend where this game could be a Super Bowl matchup, and I would love to be in Vegas, to be sitting in Radio Row or sitting in a stadium, please God, and we take that lightly, and we're very lucky to experience that if we do. But Mark, I'd love to be there if it was the Dolphins against the Cowboys. That's old school. That's the NFL. What's Christmas Eve, Christmas Day like in your house? In terms of, I mean, are you now whipped after getting married, or or getting engaged?
I'm not quite married yet, and now
can you sit down on Christmas Eve and put this game on TV?
I will not, because tradition dictates that we'll be in town having a family meal. It has been booked for 3:00 in Thunder Road Cafe in Dublin. We've been there for like 20 years in a row.
Game's at 9:25. You're grand.
Yeah, but we'll go from basically the dinner into mass, and the mass will probably lead us into the pub one way or another afterwards. So to be honest, I'm looking forward to the NFL getting off the Christmas Day slate again as the calendar resets itself, and it's like it'll go back to like the Sunday will be like the 26th or whatever the 23rd.
I think they'll play a game for the next 2 years, Tuesday and Wednesday. I really do.
Yeah, I don't mind one or two games, but when the whole slate is there, kind of has been like, it's been tough the last couple of years. But in terms of that game in particular, the Miami Dolphins versus the Dallas Cowboys, it is going to set, and I said this in the power rankings, the post-Christmas week narrative, because these two, it's like a clashing of those big stories that you referenced that like I had pointed out before, and many before me had pointed out, that Miami hasn't beaten these teams, and they have, and we like, this is it, because when I'm sitting in front of Mike McDaniel, and the very first question in Germany, when they played the last legitimate team and they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, when in a game that they could have won as well, was how's this narrative going to follow you around? And we knew it was going to be Christmas time, and that was obviously early November. That game was on. We knew that they were just going to have to beat up on teams until this came around, and now they have to play against the Cowboys, the Ravens, and the Bills. Credit to the schedule makers, because when we're talking about how good this season has been, it's because they've done stuff like this. They've had like stretches for each of the teams. We know it was obviously Eagles in November that they had to prove themselves against the massive opposition. So they've been beaten up on the teams. Obviously, that Jock lost to the Tennessee Titans, but we have to remind ourselves that it is a 48-20 loss against the Bills. They lost to the Eagles 31-17. They lost to the Chiefs 21-14 in Frankfurt. And if they go and lose to the Cowboys, it's going to bring it up again. And then they could very well likely lose the next week to the Ravens. They'll go in underdogs to that. And suddenly you're meeting the Bills in the final week of the regular season with the division up on the line. Meanwhile, for the Cowboys, they're away this week in Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. And if they lose, they go to 3-5 in the season away from home. They're 7-0 at home. And that's going to follow them around, because the only other team they play this season away from home is going to be Washington. So suddenly if they're on the road in the playoffs, it's going to be brought up. And the thing with the Dallas Cowboys this year, it seems, is, and they're a fantastic team, and I'm taking nothing from them, but when we were talking about them recently, we said we are going to hold them to the highest standard. They haven't come back. Like when they've gone down, they haven't been able to get over that hump. Like, teams are able to run the ball on them, and that might be an Achilles heel. Has that been exposed? Should we see Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane go off on them this week? It'll be really interesting, because it seems when teams are able to go up against the Cowboys, like the Cardinals did to them. What did the Cardinals put up? Over 250 yards that day, wasn't it, Jason? When they were able to surprisingly beat them. That these teams,
it was like about 10 years ago at this stage, to be honest.
It does. It's insane. So there's a lot of, the narratives around it, but it's like it's going away on the players, and it is something that we can take notice of.
Jason, just to jump on what Mark said there as well, I feel sometimes and obviously you've got such little amount of games, you got 17, 18 weeks of the season, it's almost like teams are just not allowed to have an off week, and the Cowboys had an off week massively, but are you concerned? Do you feel like if they went in and lost a close one on Sunday against Miami, it changes everything? Because we've seen enough, I feel, this season where if they're in the wild card, whatever, I've seen enough,
Well, you say it's 16, 17 weeks, but it actually goes for both these teams. These narratives go into last season as well. Last year, the Cowboys went 8-1 at home, and they were 4-4 away, and it was just night and day, their performances in that regard. For the Dolphins as well, they haven't beaten a quote-unquote impressive team or playoff team, whatever you want to call it. They beat the Bills and the Ravens in like weeks 2 and 3 in 2022, and they genuinely have not beat a high-quality opponent since then. So these narratives, it's not just this season. Like these two teams, it's been following them around for over a calendar year at this stage. Completely agree about the Dolphins. That once they lost to the Chiefs, the next 5 games were going to be against weaker opposition, and no matter what they did in those games, it wasn't going to change this narrative. I will say I've been impressed with their defense of late, especially post that Jalen Phillips injury, where I thought that might, hurt them quite a bit off the edge. But they've kept going and improved, and pitched a shutout last week against, it was the Jets, but there's no a shutout in the NFL is an impressive feat regardless. Biggest thing for me last week is one narrative that they did manage to crush, which is that they can't perform without Tyreek Hill. But the offense did that against the Jets, and the Jets are a good defense. A lot of that success came from running the ball, but you see a guy like Jalen Waddle absolutely step up and fill Tyreek's shoes when he was out. So still massive question marks around the Dolphins for beating quality opposition. They've got 3 opportunities to do that now before the playoffs, and it's something that they will have to do, because if they can go 1-on-1, if they lose to the Cowboys or if they lose to the Ravens, then that final game against the Bills is going to be a division game, like a game for the division lead. Presuming that the Bills beat the Chargers and the Patriots, which you imagine they do. For the Cowboys, I'm afraid to say anything about them, because I feel like they can just make you look like a fool any week, either destroying a quality opponent or getting destroyed themselves. But I did predict that they'd lose to the Bills last week. They had a massive win against the Eagles. I thought there was going to be a bit of a come down after that, and the Bills were playing with a passion and intensity that the Cowboys simply couldn't match, because the Bills are fighting for their lives right now every week. So I'll give them a pass on that one, but another opportunity here against a top quality team, and it is a huge game for both teams. As I said, if the Dolphins lose, then they're going to have a division match with the Bills. If the Cowboys lose, number 1 seed is all but gone. And if that number 1 seed is gone, home field advantage is gone, which could be huge for them. A bit paradoxical there that they have to win on the road to make sure they don't play on the road in the playoffs. But just a massive game for both teams. It's like a very stoppable force against an easily movable object in terms of Dolphins against a quality opponent and Cowboys on the road. So let's see which one breaks.
Sounds like a WWE match there.
Please put that one out on social media, Michael, and take all the flames away from me and put them on to Jason, because I can only imagine how the fans are going to react when he's called them a very movable object.
If I will
in this very specific context.
It's like you're talking about going on the road in the playoffs. We'll top of this down the stretch, probably week 18 to start looking at it. But I can't tell you how excited I am to see Patrick Mahomes have to go on the road in the playoffs. It's time. I can't wait. More of that in a couple of weeks after you boys have a slumber next week. Are we going to talk about Stephen Cluxton? Sorry, Dear McConnelly. Sorry, Peter Cat. Sorry. Are we going to talk about Joe Flacco, Mark? Are we allowed to?
We were not going to talk about Joe Flacco because we're going to probably talk about him more in depth come the playoff times, and because it looks like the Browns are going to the playoffs, and we're going to talk about those quarterbacks a bit more. But we did want to give a final farewell, perhaps, to Tommy DeVito, or is it a final farewell? It's up for us to decide now. I don't know what you think, Michael.
I'll just say very, very, very quickly on that, just for this week. I have, and it looks like CJ Stroud will not play on Sunday, and I have to just publicly say here how impressed I was with Case Keenum. Two guys, obviously, used to play for the Broncos, Flacco and Keenum, in very interesting circumstances. I've got Flacco beating the Texans on Sunday, and as you said, Browns going to the playoffs, 10 wins. Are you boys in like one word answer?
That's the thing with the defense. The defense is like stepped up now again. And it's like they've only needed competent quarterback play. Look, he had 3 interceptions there the other day, but they're still able to pass the ball. And David Njoku is absolutely playing insane now again. It's given them another threat alongside Amari Cooper that it's balanced off the offense. Like, we forget, like, what would the team be? Like, I'd pick them to win that division, and that was a hotly contested division, obviously, before the likes of Nick Chubb and stuff go down. So I wasn't sure. 2 weeks ago, I thought that they were going to be on the come down, but and look, they were very lucky against the Bears the other day. Obviously, if Darnell Mooney holds on to that ball in the end zone on the Hail Mary, like, the game is there for Chicago, and we're not raving about Cleveland Browns, but it seems, I don't know, can we call it a bit of magic or a bit of luck that they are in the position that they're in? So I do think that they're, and the CJ Stroud thing is a whole other thing if he's going to play or not, but I think we might talk about that later in the podcast.
Jason, we'll talk DeVito here, but like one word answer: Texans or Browns Sunday?
I'll go with the Browns. It was an impressive win for the Texans last week, with that backup, but Browns defense will be a different match, I think.
And I'll put my Steelers hat on to everybody in Ireland. At Steelers Ireland, I'm just doing some badness now because I, co-founder of this brand. If the Steelers win their last 3 games, they've got a 77% chance of making the playoffs. We'll talk about that next week and the week after. Let's talk about Tommy DeVito. And Mark, I'm so glad you brought this up. I love a good bandwagon. I love a good bandwagon. But there is a bandwagon, and then there's taking the piss. 2 weeks ago, Zach Wilson deserved to be the AFC Offensive Player of the Week, in my opinion, based on what happened to him and his performance that week. Tommy DeVito had 158 yards passing, 1 touchdown, and 40 or 50 yards rushing. In what world does that make him the Offensive Player of the Week in the NFC? I think that belittles the award. I'm sorry. I just, come on. Really?
Yeah, I was in, obviously, America for this. And, like...
You were watching the game live, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm watching in a bar, and... Sorry, I'm talking about Tommy DeVito here now. And I'm watching in a bar, and it's like, Americans are the wildest people. Like, I love them to bits. Obviously, my fiance is from America. But, like, how they get caught up in this. Like, my fiance and her sister are, like, watching SportsCenter more intently than me to see Tommy DeVito and his agent come up on the screen. Like, they're paying attention to him like it's the Kardashians or Taylor Swift. I don't know your pop culture references anymore, but it's insane how they get behind it. So that in that world, that's how Tommy DeVito does it, because Americans just love getting behind the bandwagon, like you say. And just to put on public record, Sean Stellato was asked to come on this podcast 3 times in the last week, and like the DUP on BBC Radio Ulster, we're not available for comment. Now, that is a joke that I've had. We've a lot of BBC fans that are fans of this podcast. It's a running joke that no politicians seem to go on that radio station. I don't want to get in trouble. Jason, is this the week for Tommy DeVito? Should I start handing around sandwiches? Should Mark brew a thing of tea? And should we stay up all night? This has to be it this week, doesn't it?
They have the Eagles, don't they? Yeah. Mark,
or sorry, Jason, the last time they played the Eagles, it was post watershed abuse. Let's be clear. Sorry, in Philly, in the playoff, it
Yeah,
was a disgrace.
a
So
lot has changed since then. I don't like I don't like division opponents playing each other. They're playing each other 2 of the next 3 weeks now. I think that's a bit strange. I would see these division matchups spread out across the season, and at least the team can, they might be a different team when you meet them next. So it's a bit. Eagles have a very soft schedule down the stretch, which they've earned after the games they've gotten through. But look, forget about Tommy DeVito's performance. I just want to enjoy Tommy DeVito, the guy. And that's why he won Offensive Player of the Week, because more goes into it, Michael. It's swag. It's the brand. The man, Tommy DeVito, was the name that deserved recognition that week. And I'm happy with him. I'm happy for him to get that.
Yeah, I think though, Michael, when I saw the whole, what's his name, Sean Stellato, and versus what was the name, Coniglio's Old Fashioned, the restaurant. When I saw that whole controversy, I did a U-turn on the whole thing. I was like, no, you can shoot him off to the moon. I'm not into it anymore. When, don't get me wrong, obviously he's trying to get money, but when he was like, oh, contract hasn't been signed, I presume people know the story that there was an appearance from Tommy DeVito that the price doubled from 10,000 to 20,000. Now, in fairness to DeVito, he showed up for free after the controversy, so I'm into that or whatever. But Stellato's,
he seems like a nice lad.
He seems like a great guy, but Stellato himself, as Stellato as an agent.
The description I've seen of DeVito is a Sopranos character that doesn't last more than 2 episodes. He's a pure.
Well, he'll probably
Edo's boyfriend for 2 episodes, then he gets shot in the back of the head.
Any social media about DeVito now, the comments are must read, because what people are coming up with is absolutely top class.
But like, what's the reality is, unless, and nobody wants to stop it, unless he goes down, he's playing the next 3 games. But the fact ESPN even mentioned the fact that he was playing for a contract, get out of here.
Yeah, but do you know what though? Who else did we say was playing for a contract only 5 weeks ago? Josh Dobbs. And now he's the emergency third quarterback for the Vikings. It's been insane to see what's happened to these backup quarterbacks, because they all seem to be having 2 games this year that they're looking like they're going to be the future star. And then it's like, no, we're going back to what we used to have.
And Joe Flacco literally could have flew to Donegal, played in the championship, and flew back, sat in the sofa for 6 weeks, didn't tell anyone, and then rocked up and played quarterback for 3 weeks. What a season. I can't wait to have the crack in a few weeks for you boys to top it off in Sin City. For the podcast and for the video, we're going to rock into the second part, and let's go into Christmas. Obviously, not a kind of wave to everyone watching. Merry Christmas if you don't speak Irish, or if you're like me who dropped it in 3rd year in school because my teacher told me I don't need it. And clearly not. You can't get a job at RTE without getting it. Thanks to them, and I can't work in the South without one, so thank you for that. Appreciate it. But more importantly, Mark, talk to us around Christmas Day. You mentioned it earlier on, but 3 games on Christmas Day, it's a hard one for me. Like, I go to Clonus with my in-laws, and there's a TV in the kitchen, and obviously now they'll have a discussion around the NFL and how's that going for you. You're going to Vegas, yada yada yada. And then last year I told them there's a great game coming on here at 9:00. It's the Rams against the Broncos, so we all sat and watched it.
Oof.
Now, when I say we all sat and watched it, the Uno cards were out, and look, there's a brand new Nitro Stir sitting behind me, boys. It's going to be a good night. We're not presented by Guinness, but can I just publicly say, and I am not trying to bring any fan base down, Mark. I mean, the slate is as follows: the Raiders going to Arrowhead in 6:00 game. The Eagles are hosting the Giants in the middle game, but the big one, the special one like Jose Mourinho, is the Ravens Niners Monday Night Football on Christmas night for us. It's on Sky Sports. It's on Game Pass. But for people in the north, or if you're in the south and you can somehow get dodgy Channel 5, it's on Channel 5 as well. And can I just say, I watched that coverage for the first time the other night to try and stay awake during the Seahawks game against the Eagles. Not bad. Greg Rosenthal, MJD, actually very watchable. So if you're in the north, put it on. I'll be watching it as well. Big week, but that game is huge. Don't tell anyone, right? I'm not fussed on the Aver. I'm not watching the Aver live anyway. Is that bad?
I cannot guarantee I will be watching them either because family has to come first and a lot of things. But you know what's funny? When you speak about that and the game that's on this weekend, I wonder are they trying to do what the NBA has, or it's a tradition to watch basketball on your Christmas Day over in America. Obviously, we know
100%
Thanksgiving. Christmas Day, or sorry, Thanksgiving is obviously football. But I love the Saturday games. I was actually traveling during the Saturday games. Lads, this is absolutely insane. So, Michael, you know how we were coming back from Germany and you paid your €12 for the Wi-Fi to get Red Zone on your phone? Last year, I remember you were going back from London on Ryanair and you tweeted out where's the Red Zone, and Ryanair made you go viral because they got back to you. It's no joke in America. On my phone, they let you log into the plain Wi-Fi. And I was able to watch Vikings Bengals, two backups go against each other. They were promoting, saying this day of football on NFL Network is going to be 2 straight games of complete backup quarterbacks, whatever. I'm watching it in the sky for free. And then I hopped on. So that was while I flew from Denver to Dallas. When I flew from Dallas then to Dublin, they wouldn't let me watch it. And I was raging because I was like, I'm going to get 7 hours of just pure football. But I love that Saturday because I don't get into the college game. But it's like, I almost wish the NFL was on a Saturday. It'll never happen. But that kind of period around Christmas, I'm absolutely into.
You're talking about the college game. This game next year, a whole different conversation is getting spicy with FSU and the bowl game. A whole different discussion there, which we'll talk about on the end of season college podcast. Oof! I can't wait to bring Pat McAfee the Coppers. Just in all that. Yeah, like for example, Jason, JetBlue in the States were not presented by any airline. If you go domestic flight in the States, you basically got like a skybox on your screen. Like I remember I watched the whole Senior Bowl on the way to Phoenix last year live. It's like you feel like a king.
I'd love to see an American listening to this right now. They're probably like, you're always watching games in the sky. Oh my god.
Meanwhile, we started off this podcast with Jason saying that they're just after getting Wi-Fi in Cork. So it's like, oh no, sorry, Skell getting Wi-Fi in Galway.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx Jason's connection. It's fine so far. Jason, your partners sound like you'll be watching the games. I mean, I'm presuming Mark Hogan's watching that. That late game is absolutely ginormous. It's huge.
Yeah, Chiefs Raiders. I might give that I'll be watching the score. I'll have it on in the background anyway. No interest in that Eagles Giants game. I'm sorry, but I'll definitely be staying up for that late game. Niners Ravens. I think that could be a Super Bowl preview right there. To be honest, they're leading both conferences right now. 2 very impressive teams. That's definitely one we'll have to watch.
It's funny, someone put it underneath the power rankings asking me, actually, sorry, I never got back to it, but do I think the Ravens 49ers could be the Super Bowl matchup? And I was actually going to say, not at all, because it's too obvious. In this season, that nothing makes sense. It's like, how are the 2 number 1 seeds going to get there? It's insane. I didn't
see the meme. So basically, there's a Super Bowl logo each year, like a prototype.
Oh, I've seen this.
And the prototype had like blue and something else, and now the actual logo is the colors of the Ravens and Niners, and everybody's saying, "Get out of here with that! Get out of here with
NFL scripted."
All I can think about is Colin Kaepernick at the 20 with 4 minutes to go.
Yeah,
that's all I can think about. Like that is era. If they had won that, oh god, don't even start me on that. The night the lights went out, it was sitting in Belfast at 20 to 4 in the morning, panicking over the internet.
Brother versus brother.
I guess let's stay on this topic very quickly. Obviously, it's Christmas. I want to publicly note that I'm very lucky that my family and in-laws are happy for me to watch the games. But I'll be a bit like Jason. I'll probably have the first 2 games on in the background
while you're watching Coming to America on RT. It's the big movie on Christmas Day, 9:00.
See, like people, like if you're in Northern Ireland, you've got the best of both worlds, Hannah Montana style, so you can watch whatever you want. But like technically, there's nothing half decent on the telly, so it's like I'm not watching Doctor Who. I might watch EastEnders, but what I'm trying to say is, if the Chiefs and Raiders game gets close, or if the Raiders stay in it, I don't think it's going to happen personally. Or if Tommy DeVito somehow turns it on, of course I'm going to watch it. But I don't feel like they are. Like, you boys can testament to this. Shout out to my brother-in-law, Potter. I remember, and Connor, my future brother-in-law, potentially, sitting at 4 o'clock in the morning last year in the living room, 12 pints deep of water, obviously, watching the Cardinals against the Bucks. Like, there's 4 hours of your life you're never getting back, boys. You know? At least this year, it's a huge game. Who's going to win the game this year? I'm going to take the Niners in a boring game.
I saw a stat that the last 7 Monday Night Football underdogs have won, which is the longest streak in history. So this week the Ravens are going in underdogs. I think that streak is long enough now. I think it's going to be the 49ers.
I'll take the 49ers, yeah. It's weird to talk about it as Monday Night Football. It just feels like its own entity being Christmas Day.
Stephen's Day, morning football. I can't wait. It's going to be great. And it's weird because after that there, it's sort of, it does seem like that's it. So it's weird. It's weird. Okay. Can I just say before we go to our next topic, just a massive shout out to everybody in the NFL Academy that committed and signed their deals with their respective colleges in the last few days. Lopez Sanusi was born in Dublin. Obviously has African roots also, but played for the Belfast Trojans. Signed, and Lopez was very good to us to come on to the podcast, and we want to wish him the very, very best at Boise State, and we can't wait to see him with the flag on his helmet in the NFL in 4 to 5 years' time. But shout out to them. We've seen the NFL offices in London were completely decked out for all of that. It was really, really cool, and continue shout out to not just Andy Quinn, who's a great lad, but everyone that gets it over to the academy. We want to see more Irish players there next year as well, so shout out to them. Staying on the Christmas topic very quickly, Mark, if you could have one Christmas present NFL-wise, what would it be? For me, it would be the Broncos owners who are multi-billionaires buying or potentially using the car park beside the stadium and building a new one. What would you do?
Oh, jeez. Oh God! If I had
NFL game in Dublin, NFL game in Dublin.
Oh, jeez, that's the easy one. Jason, you can have that. If I could have one, it'd be we could get rid of Aaron Rodgers for a while. This whole I could come back. I'm gonna come back. It's time to come back. And actually, no, do you know what? I'm not into it. It's like I said that. It's like he was never going to come back. But this is going to feed the narrative that I'm a superhuman athlete, and he's going to take over the off season because we cannot wait to see him because he's been out since week 1. I cannot believe we're going to 4th straight off season that Aaron Rodgers is going to dominate it.
No, they're not. The Chicago Bears are going to dominate, as always. And Jim Harbaugh flirting is going to dominate. So yeah, he'll dominate also. Jason, is it that your county can win a dual All Ireland again for the first time? And
I'll be a bit more realistic than that. Snow me away. I want a snow game. We haven't had a snow game yet this year.
You can have anything. You can have anything, Jason. Anything at all. And you want a snow game and see six points scored in a 200-yard rushing game.
I'm a simple man. The Sean McCoy snow game from whenever. God, I don't know when that was now, but yeah, let's shake it up. That's just Mother Nature throwing a spanner in the works there. It's always fun.
Wait until a playoff game is ruined now when the Bills host the Ravens or something like that, and the snow is like no one can move the ball.
That's what you want. It's a bit like the guy, like the Mechanic Cup starts up here in a few weeks' time. Tyrone plays Donegal actually in a box office clash with Jim McGuinness on the 7th of January. I hope it snows because they'll play the game, and I can't wait to see keep it. Big Jim, right? What's now? Hold on. What is this wild card matchup topic, Mark? I'm recording 4 podcasts in one night here. I'm enjoying it, but tell me what's the crack.
I'll check the WhatsApp group for the notes that you put in when you suggested this topic.
Oh yeah. So like, who would I can see in the wild card?
Who would we?
Hypothetically, so we're sitting here in week 16. As a Broncos fan, before people in the DM start going, "You're a Steelers fan, Steelers." I'm a Broncos fan. I've adopted Steelers. I fairly enjoy my work with them, and I hope at some point in the future we'll see potentially a game at some point in the next 10 years. It'd be awesome to see it. And they've been great in the market so far this year. It's been really, really great to see. I want to see a Broncos Dolphins rematch, and I want the Broncos to put 70 points on them. Imagine a Broncos Dolphins rematch and Russell Wilson turns it on. I'm not saying like 70, but 3 or 4 touchdowns, they win the game by a point. Could you actually imagine? It's not going to happen, but could you imagine that happens in the wild card, Mark?
Sorry, I'm still laughing at your impersonation. People calling you a Steelers fan.
I literally get 4 DMs a week. Somebody DM'd me on Monday saying, "Stop tweeting about the Steelers so much." And this guy's in Colorado. He goes, "And what?
Stop.
Don't follow me, like."
Yeah.
I mean,
I was getting hated on.
Seriously, if people are getting annoyed over the fact that I'm tweeting about an NFL team,
Here, wait, just wait,
Michael.
Michael, wait until the Steelers podcast has you making a pick from Crow Park in 6 or 7 round come April, and you have to put on a Steelers jersey.
Here we go.
That is not official. That is my Christmas wish, is you to be standing in Crow Park. That is something that I think is very likely to happen, by the way. Wait until that happens. That you're like on screens all over Colorado.
It'll not be me. No, look, I look. I'll just put this out here now, so I don't get done for this. I have no idea what they're doing. Long term, I know they're planning to do more stuff. A pick in Ireland would be awesome. That'd be great. But obviously, it would have to be like Aidan O'Shea or someone, the big lad.
Oh.
Well,
yeah. Obviously, you're a buddy from up on stage. Steelers watch party. To bring it back onto track, I think it's really interesting that you've said Miami, Denver, because they are part of a trio of teams that I had put down for this section. I think for the Broncos, there, like I mentioned earlier on in the segment, they're standing at 7-7 now, a game back from that 4-way tie for the last 2 spots in the AFC. They do need some help, and while I really, really enjoyed the story of them this year and how they turned around, and I would love to see Sean Payton back in the playoffs, even though I don't particularly like him as an individual, I suppose, but it is that he's obviously been part of those Saints teams that were part of the Minneapolis Miracle and that Rams no call that obviously changed pass interference rules. It would be great if they got in, obviously for you as well as a fan, and I genuinely would love. So I suppose the topic doesn't actually ask for reality to be involved here, but I actually got rid of them. I'll fire away.
Sorry, just on that topic of Sean Payton, what's your least favourite thing from the celebrations tub?
From which?
It's a Christmas week, so celebrations tub. What's the least favourite sweet?
Oh, it's literally celebrations tub. Bounty. I'm not a bounty man. Controversial. The most controversial sweet.
There you go. Sean Payton. Bounty.
Oh yeah, 100%. So he. It took me a minute. So my team, to get us back on track again, I thought we were going to ask Jason his favourite one until it dawned on me what we were getting at.
Jason can tell us after. Don't worry. Go for it.
The game that I wanted was, I would love to see Houston against the Dolphins then. I think it is realistic. I think that the Houston Texans, I'd love to see if they were able to win that division. It's definitely still likely after the result last week. It's a redemption story, obviously, for Texans, where they came from. I was thinking that they'd be a top 3 pick this year. And it's a credit to D'Amico Ryans being that first-year head coach that has stepped up and could potentially bring his team to the playoffs. A year ago, we were saying that D'Amico Ryans would not go to the Houston Texans because he was in a lawsuit with them in 2016. Do you remember that whole thing? It's like, it obviously never came to mean anything, but it's like, he, first and foremost, obviously came from San Francisco as a fantastic defensive mind. All the plaudits go to what they're after getting out of the offense, because they were obviously able to draft CJ Stroud, and a lot has been going right. We've talked about that when we may talk about it in the future. But I would love to see this defense that, a bit like the Miami Dolphins, went not under the radar. The Miami Dolphins took a while to get going on defense, but it's obviously fantastic now. I wonder, could the Houston Texans nullify the Miami Dolphins and just kick on with a healthy CJ Stroud? Obviously, they are missing a couple of the wide receivers now, which is a shame. But yeah, nice redemption story there for Houston. It'd be cool. But I do think they're obviously going to be very, very, very relevant in the coming years now in that division. So maybe we just have to wait a year.
Yeah, you're talking earlier on about the story of the offseason. One of them will be Chicago. I think, Jason, one of them will be the continuation of the Texans season and their projection for 2024 as well. What's your wild card, and what's your favourite celebration? Mine's Milky Way.
My favourite celebration. Jesus. I'm trying to get mixed up with heroes now. Do they have the
Galaxy
Caramel truffle?
They got rid of the truffle. They got rid of the truffle.
Got rid of it, yeah. Are they still gone? They weren't
gone. They put a Twix in instead. What are they?
Did anyone see that tweet? I mean, am I allowed to say this? Did anyone see that tweet?
No.
It's like where the NFL compared celebrations.
Oh, I saw that, yeah. Hey, I thought good going NFL UK for coming up with something different, but in the comments, my opinion was very rare.
No, it wasn't that. Like, I thought the idea was great. But chocolate eclairs aren't in celebrations; they're in heroes.
Oh, what? They didn't have that on the Instagram. They did not have that on the Instagram.
People losing their head over it. Sorry, Jason, go on ahead.
Yeah, geez, must be Christmas spirit. This podcast is getting we're
Very
going off
loose.
track every 5 seconds.
Very loose.
Love to see it. We did each slam 5 shots to Jameson just before this part. No, we didn't.
After the podcast.
There's a few teams that, you mentioned a few teams there that I'd like to see. Texans, they're the team of Pro Football Ireland. They're coming up in the headache every week. I'd like to see the Bengals because Jake Browning has stepped in so nicely for them, and they're looking. It just kind of blows my mind how much they struggled early in the year. I know Joe Burrow was injured, but they're playing some very good football now. And Lou Anarumo is coaching his last games as Bengals defensive coordinator because he's definitely going to get snapped up in the offseason. But the one matchup that I settled on was a rematch of the divisional round from 2 years ago, which is Chiefs against the Bills. 42-36 the last time they met. The Chiefs obviously had a crazy ending where neither defense could sniff the ball. Two teams are looking very different this year. A lot will say that they're just past their peak and their prime of when they should have been winning championships. But at the end of the day, you've got Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen still in the mix. And this is a very realistic matchup that could happen. Chiefs will be probably there and thereabouts with the 3rd seed. And if the Bills can't win the AFC East, then they'll be one of the lower ranked wildcard games. So yeah, that's definitely just for the star power. I'd love to see a rematch in the playoffs between those two teams.
Okay, we're all going to give our partners and family members this of the weekend whenever the NFL's on headaches. No, my wife's standing beside me, that's why I said that. I'm joking, right? Headache time of the week. I'm going to just be quick on this one. I'm going to go back to Michael week 5, week 6, and just pick a random Texas player for the crack. I'm going to say Noah Brown this week. He had 8 passes for 80 odd yards, and he had a touchdown last week. I still think the Texans lose against the Browns, but I think he's a good day on Sunday, and he has a touchdown and over 120 yards on the day. What say if you, Mr. Hogan?
I feel like we could have called this the Grinch segment this week, but I'll leave that one go. I thought, for me, it is Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield obviously coming away from Lambeau Field being
Michaela's going to love you, man. Baker Mayfield.
Right. So this is, it's crazy for me because obviously I haven't been the biggest Baker Mayfield fan, especially last year with the Rams. It was a bit of an epiphany, but he is obviously coming off this insane game, and that's what makes him the headache, is that we just do not know what version we're going to get from him. But they are hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars, who, if they were to lose this game, would go to 3rd place in the division and would be given a 50-50 chance by that New York Times playoff predictor simulator thing to make it into the playoffs. And it's like, what has happened to the Jacksonville Jaguars? They started off the season 6-2. Since the bye, they've had 6 games. They've given up an extra 35 pass yards a game. It's just that defense that we were seeing, and led by Darius Williams playing excellently, has started to give up more pass yards. And in that span, they've been 2-4. So it's like, if Baker Mayfield is able to get the ball going on them again, and it is, like we said, at home, he's after putting up a perfect pass rating in Lambeau Field, I think it's going to be very interesting. Of course, this is a massive matchup because it is 2 teams that are top of their division right now that a loss would potentially put them out of the playoff race.
Jason, give us a headache. Go for it.
The opportunities to mention the Cardinals are few and far between this year, but a certain player definitely deserves a shout out.
Wow.
Trey McBride, tight end.
49 minutes, but you still done it.
Trey McBride, Jason,
he's
it's insane
right now,
because people literally wrote him off, and you have to give credit because he's a Steve Kine pick that was called trash. And why'd you spend a 2nd round pick on him, and a high 2nd round pick?
I seen him play in college. He's a hell of a player.
But it's taken him a while, but now all of a sudden Jason's going to tell us why he's broken out.
Yeah, it's just the stats back it up, like that. Since week 8 of this season, I think he's 2nd in all tight ends and receiving yards. He's got 51 receptions since then. Since Kyler Murray's come back, he's become his go-to favourite target. Partly because there's absolutely no one else to throw the ball to on that offense. But there's what's that? When a wide receiver separation. Yeah, he's the most separation of all tight ends the last few weeks as well. So he's running good routes. He's making some ridiculous contested catches. Like the catch radius on him, the jump he has. It's just a quarterback's best friend, and it's looking like that for Kyler Murray when he's under duress. He's just looking one way, and McBride is absolutely backing up right now. Got the Bears this week, who do have a tough defense. I didn't really look too much into that. I just wanted to give the Cardinals a mention. So Trey McBride, keep doing what you're doing.
Okay, my wife, I had a bit of a headache there for a second, but we're back. Interesting headache picks, boys. I have to say now, I have really enjoyed this podcast, but can I also take an opportunity to wish everybody in the Football Ireland family a very, very Merry Christmas. Connor McKayla, Monday Morning Football team, the college football team, and everybody involved in the podcast. Both of you lads, your families, my family. I'll do it now publicly so they don't go mad at me. And just honestly, everybody that listens to this podcast, we are 4 weeks out from an 8-day tour across Ireland. You can get tickets linktr.ee/NFL Ireland. And that's pretty much it. Can I wrap up, or have you any final things to say? I'm definitely writing into your contracts next year that we're doing a week 17 show. Yeah.
That'll be on Christmas Day. We'll be recording on Stevens' Day. We'll have to get James Scanlon.
No, look, we could technically record on the 28th, but take the week.
We're giving everyone else a break. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're giving the listeners a break after Jason said we've had our 5 shots of Jameson. They did well to listen to us today. But no, I would echo those sentiments. Obviously, Happy New Year to everyone, and we appreciate your support this year, and I hope everyone has a fruitful 2024, especially if your team is involved in the playoffs.
Which mine probably won't be. Either or, in that sense. And your boys won't definitely be. Look, not economy of go there to everyone, and I hope everybody has a great Christmas. Do feel free to keep connected, listening, giving a review on this podcast. Like, share, subscribe. We're on every channel, NFL Ireland. From myself, Mark and Jason, Gummy Muggets, and we will chat to you in 2024.